the right times. I mean, as a filmmaker, like, that's all I could ask for.
There's no better feeling, I imagine.
No, there's no better feeling. And then it's like the culmination of years and years and years.
She shared that her oldest daughter is completely in love with the new baby, always eager to help and be involved, while her middle child hasn't shown quite the same excitement. In fact, shortly after she gave birth, he jokingly made a comment about how life would look if she were gone and he was at the park alone with their 3 children, humorously imagining the attention he might get. The light-hearted family moment contrasts sharply with the intense speculation surrounding the film adaptation drama. When discussions began about who might control the rights, many believed Blake could eventually step into a directing role. However, it's equally possible that Colleen Hoover had no intention of relinquishing rights to a potential sequel, which may have added another layer of complexity behind the scenes. Hollywood has been buzzing ever since It Ends With Us became the center of controversy. Blake Lively finally addressed the situation after a dramatic turn involving the film's adaptation. Colleen Hoover, the best-selling author of the novel, publicly expressed her support for Blake during Justin Baldoni's unfolding legal conflict, a move that stunned fans and industry insiders alike. Baldoni, who was both directing and starring in the adaptation, became entangled in legal troubles that reportedly sent shockwaves through production. Although the precise details remain unclear, insiders have suggested the issues could threaten the film's release. Just as tensions seemed ready to boil over, Hoover made a decisive public statement backing Blake, escalating speculation about Baldoni's future involvement and the overall direction of the project. Blake's response has been subtle yet undeniably confident. Through carefully curated social media activity and poised public appearances, she has projected calm authority rather than direct confrontation. Rumors suggest that creative disagreements, power struggles, and behind-the-scenes friction may have been building for months before the legal issues surfaced. Hoover's endorsement positioned Blake squarely at the center of the storm, and her statement appeared intentional rather than casual, sending a strong message throughout both fan communities and the entertainment industry. Reports indicate that tensions between Blake and Baldoni may have existed long before the legal disputes became public, pointing to deeper creative clashes that potentially set the stage for the fallout. Hoover's alignment with Blake has intensified speculation about what truly transpired during production, particularly regarding Baldoni's role in the escalating drama. Meanwhile, Blake has largely refrained from direct public commentary, choosing instead to quietly signal resilience by engaging with supportive fan messages and maintaining a composed, confident presence at public events. At the same time, Hoover herself has faced scrutiny. Although she openly supported Blake, she reportedly began distancing herself from Baldoni, especially as his earnings from the project began to rival or exceed her own. In response to unrelated backlash, she pulled a coloring book adaptation from shelves in an attempt to address criticism. Yet controversy continued to follow her. Allegations later surfaced involving her son and a teenage girl he reportedly met online. Claims circulated that the situation was mishandled and that Hoover initially blocked the girl after being contacted. When the matter became public, Hoover stated that the story had been misrepresented, asserting that she had apologized, offered legal assistance, and addressed the issue privately with her son. Critics, however, questioned whether her response was sufficient given the seriousness of the accusations. The unfolding events have complicated Hoover's public image, particularly because her writing often centers on themes of trauma and survival. As tensions remain high around the adaptation and the individuals involved, Hollywood continues to watch closely, waiting to see how the legal battle, public alliances, and lingering controversies will ultimately shape the future of the project. When confronted with a deeply personal situation involving her own family, critics argue that she did not respond in a way that aligned with the values she promotes in her writing. This perceived inconsistency has sparked intense online backlash, with many pointing out what they see as a contradiction between the themes of accountability and empowerment in her novels and her reported real-life actions. Her silence on social media during the peak of the controversy only amplified speculation, leading some observers to question whether she was avoiding responsibility rather than directly addressing the concerns. As a result, the narrative surrounding Colleen Hoover and Blake Lively has become inseparable from the adaptation of It Ends With Us. What was once anticipated as a straightforward book-to-film project has evolved into a broader Hollywood saga marked by power dynamics, loyalty, and public controversy. Some fans believe Hoover and Lively's alliance extended beyond simple public encouragement, suggesting that the two may have worked closely to consolidate creative control over the film. This perception has fueled claims that Justin Baldoni, despite playing a key role in bringing the adaptation to life, was gradually sidelined. Hoover's enthusiastic praise of Lively on social media, highlighting her integrity and compassion, appeared to many as a carefully timed statement that positioned Lively as the emotional anchor of the situation. However, this public endorsement clashed with circulating rumors about tense behind-the-scenes disagreements. Allegations surfaced that creative decisions were heavily debated, including reported changes to scenes that some believed strayed from the novel's original tone and themes. Combined with ongoing legal disputes, These reports painted a picture of a production facing significant internal strain. Baldoni, who had reportedly invested considerable time and energy into developing the project, now finds himself at the center of a narrative largely shaped by public statements from Hoover and Lively. Fans remain divided, debating questions of artistic control, fairness, and transparency. At the same time, Hoover's credibility has been increasingly scrutinized, particularly by those who see a disconnect between her public advocacy for trauma survivors and her response to personal allegations involving her family. The legal tensions and public relations battle have transformed the adaptation into something far larger than the story it set out to tell. Instead of focusing solely on themes of healing and resilience, the conversation has shifted toward celebrity influence, strategic alliances, and the power to shape public perception. Throughout the turmoil, Blake Lively has maintained a composed and deliberate presence, with each public appearance and online interaction analyzed closely by fans and industry insiders. Hoover's support has undeniably strengthened Lively's public standing, yet it has also prompted broader questions about loyalty, accountability, and the complex overlap between personal relationships and professional collaborations in Hollywood. Claims of manipulation, legal maneuvering, and carefully worded public messaging have created a complicated web of speculation that may take years to fully unravel. The stakes extend beyond the film's creative direction to the reputations of everyone involved. Ultimately, the unfolding situation involving Blake Lively, Colleen Hoover, and Justin Baldoni reflects a high-profile collision of ambition, loyalty, and controversy. While the adaptation of it ends with us promised a powerful exploration of trauma and growth, the real-world drama surrounding its production has reshaped the narrative in unexpected ways. As new details continue to surface, audiences are left wondering who truly holds creative control and how much of the full story remains hidden behind the scenes. The exchange began playfully, with Blake joking that if Colleen had control of the rights, she would follow her anywhere. Laughter followed, and Justin responded with his own teasing remark about having a long list, while Blake quipped that she only needed one thing on hers. What seemed like a light-hearted moment has since taken on new meaning as the controversy surrounding the adaptation of It Ends With Us deepens. Hollywood has been watching closely as the situation grows increasingly complicated. Blake Lively, once known for her polished public image and steady career, now finds herself at the center of an escalating dispute involving Justin Baldoni, Colleen Hoover, and even Ryan Reynolds. What began as a highly anticipated adaptation of Hoover's best-selling novel has transformed into a saga filled with legal tension, shifting alliances, and mounting public scrutiny. Hoover surprised many fans by publicly supporting Lively during Baldoni's legal challenges. The move sparked widespread debate online, with some questioning her motivations and whether financial or industry pressures played a role. Critics argue that if the allegations made against Baldoni were as serious as suggested, more voices from the cast or crew might have come forward. Instead, Hoover's backing stood out as the primary show of support, intensifying speculation about behind-the-scenes strategy. Observers also began dissecting past interviews, including one in which Lively hinted she would eagerly participate in a sequel if Hoover controlled the rights, despite those rights reportedly belonging to Baldoni and his production company. To some, the exchange suggested subtle positioning over future control of the property. Around the same time, Hoover launched her own production company and secured high-profile legal representation, moves that industry watchers interpreted as efforts to strengthen her control over her intellectual property. The timing fueled theories that broader strategic planning was underway. Further complicating matters were reports that the original rights agreement included a morality clause that could affect ownership if serious allegations emerged. When Lively later brought forward harassment claims against Baldoni, critics questioned whether the timing was coincidental or legally significant. Once the allegations became public, Baldoni faced professional fallout, including reported agency separation. While control over the adaptation appeared to shift dramatically, supporters of Baldoni described the sequence of events as calculated, while others argue that such clauses are standard in the industry and exist to protect projects from reputational harm. Online forums and social media platforms amplified the controversy. Self-identified crew members posted claims of earlier tensions on set, and interview clips were re-examined for signs of underlying conflict. Allegations circulated that Lively sought substantial creative input, requesting scene adjustments and tonal shifts to align with her interpretation of the material. Meanwhile, Hoover's business decisions forming a new production company and strengthening her legal team added to perceptions that a larger strategic repositioning was taking place. Fans remain divided. Some believe Hoover's public advocacy for sensitive themes in her writing clashes with what they view as opportunistic maneuvering, while others defend her right to protect her work and partnerships. Questions of loyalty, accountability, and creative authority dominate online discussions, with every statement and appearance analyzed for hidden meaning. At the center of it all is the adaptation of It Ends With Us, which has evolved from a story about trauma and resilience into a real-world dispute over power and influence in Hollywood. Baldoni, who was instrumental in securing the adaptation rights and developing the project, now appears sidelined in a narrative increasingly shaped by Hoover and Lively's public positions. As speculation continues and new details emerge, the industry and fans alike are left wondering how much of the truth remains behind closed doors, and who ultimately will define the future of the project. The mix of legal strategies, morality clauses, public relations campaigns, and shifting industry alliances has reportedly left Justin Baldoni with little room to maneuver. Observers argue that the coordination between Blake Lively and Colleen Hoover demonstrates how celebrity status, financial leverage, and strategic timing can dramatically reshape a project's direction while the public watches from the sidelines. What began as a film adaptation has evolved into a broader conversation about intellectual property rights, author control, and the ethical responsibilities tied to influence in Hollywood. The controversy raises larger questions about how contractual clauses, social media narratives, and personal disputes can intersect in ways that redefine professional power. Instead of remaining a heartfelt adaptation of It Ends With Us, the project has become a layered power struggle involving lawsuits, alleged private negotiations, and carefully timed public statements. Fans and industry insiders are left attempting to reconstruct a timeline that includes legal filings, shifting allegiances, and mounting public scrutiny. The situation illustrates how Hollywood often functions as a high-stakes arena, where contracts and perception can be as influential as creativity itself. Amid the turmoil, anecdotes from behind the scenes paint a tense picture. One account recalls receiving a serious call from both management and agency. Representatives at once signaled that something major was unfolding. What once felt like celebratory milestones began to resemble strategic turning points. The adaptation, initially viewed as something old, borrowed, and new creatively blended together, gradually became overshadowed by controversy. As tensions escalated, reports surfaced suggesting discomfort on set and disagreements over the film's creative direction. Baldoni, who had been instrumental in developing the project and securing the adaptation rights, was said to have been dissatisfied with early cuts of the film and brought in additional editorial support. In response, Lively reportedly sought greater creative authority. While studios often navigate such disagreements internally, the situation appeared to intensify as legal claims emerged. Industry watchers have pointed to the presence of a morality clause in the original agreement standard in many contracts, which could potentially affect rights ownership if serious allegations were substantiated. When legal action became public, professional consequences followed swiftly. Agencies distanced themselves, public narratives hardened, and control over the adaptation appeared to shift. Supporters of Baldoni argued that the sequence of events suggests calculated timing, while others maintained that such clauses are protective measures common in high-profile projects. The debate has only grown louder as additional business moves came to light, including Hoover's launch of a production company and her alignment with prominent legal representation, signaling a determined effort to safeguard her intellectual property. Clips from interviews have been re-examined, including moments where Lively referenced the possibility of future sequels depending on rights control. Combined with Hoover's strategic professional shifts, these moments have fueled speculation about long-term positioning. Online discussions dissect every appearance, social media post, and contractual detail in an effort to determine who is steering the narrative. Throughout the unfolding drama, references to other high-profile figures, including Reynolds and even reported creative tensions involving music contributors, have added to the perception of instability. Each development compounds the sense that the production has been shaped as much by influence and leverage as by storytelling. Ultimately, the saga surrounding Blake Lively, Colleen Hoover, and Justin Baldoni has become emblematic of how quickly a major adaptation can transform into a battleground over authority and reputation. Allegations, counterclaims, strategic silence, and legal maneuvering have redefined the public conversation. What remains clear is that the project's future and the reputations tied to it will likely depend not only on legal outcomes, but on how audiences interpret the intersection of power, loyalty, and accountability in modern Hollywood. Meanwhile, Colleen Hoover's calculated business decisions, including launching her own production company and securing high-profile legal representation, have been interpreted by observers as a determined effort to strengthen her control over her intellectual property. Online discussions point to Reddit threads from alleged crew members that surfaced months before the controversy became public, hinting that tensions may have been brewing behind the scenes long before audiences were aware. Fan reactions have been intense and deeply divided. Some critics argue that Hoover's public image as a writer who champions survivors clashes with what they view as strategic, self-protective maneuvering in this dispute. Her visible alignment with Blake Lively, followed by periods of silence as the controversy escalated, only fueled speculation. Social media platforms quickly filled with debates over loyalty, influence, and the ethical responsibilities of creators in positions of power. At the same time, Justin Baldoni, who had reportedly worked for years to bring the adaptation of It Ends With Us to the screen, appeared increasingly sidelined. Commentators have pointed to this shift as an example of how celebrity status, contractual clauses, and public perception can intersect to redefine creative control almost overnight. Allegations of manipulation and strategic pressure have circulated widely. Some claim that carefully timed legal actions, coordinated public support, and selective media messaging were used to consolidate authority over the project. Others argue that such interpretations oversimplify what may be complex legal and professional disagreements common in high-stakes film productions. The presence of morality clauses, studio involvement, and legal counsel adds additional layers to an already complicated situation. Speculation is also extended to behind-the-scenes dynamics. Anonymous insiders have suggested that narratives about on-set behavior may have influenced alliances, while rumors of cast alignment and creative reshaping have added intrigue. Whether these claims reflect calculated orchestration or standard industry conflict remains a point of contention among fans and analysts alike. Hoover's temporary disappearance from social media intensified the conversation further. Some interpreted it as a strategic retreat amid rising legal scrutiny, while others saw it as a personal decision to step back from mounting online hostility. Regardless of intent, the timing added to the perception that every move in this saga carried strategic weight. Throughout it all, Lively's role has been heavily scrutinized, with critics framing her as a central strategist in the unfolding drama and supporters defending her right to advocate for herself and the direction of a project she was deeply involved in. The broader narrative has evolved far beyond a simple adaptation dispute. It now represents a case study in how celebrity influenced contractual leverage, legal timing, and public relations can converge to reshape an entertainment property's trajectory. What started as a beloved novel's journey to the screen has transformed into a multifaceted legal and reputational battle. Fans, insiders, and industry observers continue attempting to piece together a story marked by shifting alliances, strategic positioning, and high-stakes decisions. The situation underscores how power in Hollywood often lies not just in creative vision, but in timing, influence, and the ability to control public narrative. Ultimately, the controversy surrounding Blake Lively, Colleen Hoover, and Justin Baldoni serves as a reminder that major film adaptations operate at the intersection of art, business, and reputation. Whether viewed as calculated strategy or complicated professional fallout, the events have permanently reshaped the conversation around the project and highlighted how quickly influence and alliances can redefine who holds control in the entertainment industry.